Hi guys, and welcome to this week's first edition of the Coffee and Heroes show. I'm going to be slightly changing up the format moving forward. Now the reason for that is because 9 times out of 10 I have to leave it until I close on a Tuesday, and I have to try and record the show, get all set up for the next day in terms of new releases, in terms of graphic novels, and it's just a little bit of a rush to get it all done by 10 to 6. And 9 times out of 10, it'll also be the YouTube show that has to suffer if I run out of time, because obviously getting set up for the Wednesday for New Comic Book Day, it's always going to take precedence there. So I'm going to break it up, and what I'm going to start doing is on Tuesday mornings, I can go through what's new in this week in terms of graphic novels, omnibuses, compendiums, etc., etc. And then what I'll do is when it hits 5 o'clock and I need to finish it off, I will do the single issues that are out this week, because by that point the pull lists are done. Obviously, I'm still working through pull lists. You know, our orders get bigger and bigger. You know, we're still growing. It's great to see. We're still accepting new pull lists, and it just takes a lot of time to do it. You know, between bagging and boarding everything, ensuring that you get everything. So it just takes a lot of time. And as I say, therefore, Tuesday after closing is the only time I know what single issues we have for the racks once the pull lists have all been fulfilled. Because obviously, pull lists will always take precedence there as well. So. Before jumping in, obviously we announced last week we've got a signing coming up in September 23rd, Saturday, which is David Embor. We're a big fan of this writer. We interviewed him a long time ago on the podcast over a book he did called Canto that we're big fans of. You know, we talk about it in the store all the time. Great all ages title. We're always recommending it to people, and people have always enjoyed it. So Canto, obviously, he's moved on to full-time writing now. I believe he was a lawyer before. But he's moved on to full-time writing, worked on Firefly, worked on Dungeons and Dragons. So definitely a writer moving up in the world, and an all-around nice guy as well. So it'll be a free signing as always, 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock on that Saturday. Prepare for me to batter you over the head with it in terms of posters, leaflets, mentions on YouTube, mentions on the podcast, because the last signing we did, I felt like I did the same thing, and I still had people the day after the signing going, I didn't know about that. So if you hear it 100 times, my apologies, but we're just doing everything we can to make sure everybody hears about it as we go closer and closer to the event. But yeah, as I say, I'll take you through what's come in new this week in terms of graphic novels. It's the usual mix. You know, we've got some stuff that we're topping up and some classics we're making sure on the shelves. We've got the new releases as well. Kicking things off with an all ages title, which is part of the DC Kids range. This is Young Alfred Payne in the Butler. So these are always books that are aimed at younger readers, but there's always enough sort of knowledge put into them and enough winks to canon and previous stories and so forth that anybody can read them. But again, I've spoke about it before. When you're looking for something for a younger reader, just always look at the size of the book. You know, DC are very good at this, Marvel as well, doing the books in this smaller format for smaller hands to hold them. So as I say, a new one out this week, and that is by Sam Lofty in terms of art, and then Michael Northrop in terms of writing. Next up we have one called Class War. Now this is from Image Comics. I believe this is an older book, which is 1 to 6. It was published by Com.X, now available in trade paperback for the first time from Image Comics. So it's called Class War. It's written by Rob Williams with art by Trevor Hairsine. Now, Rob Williams I know mostly from Suicide Squad and 2000 AD, stuff like that. Trevor Hairsine, of course, was the artist on Deceased. So for Class War, love your country, then rip it down. In Class War, beloved super soldier American uncovers the dark truth behind the White House and burns the word liar into the forehead of the president on live TV. Oh, this sounds good. Now on the run with the rogue CIA agent, he intends to reveal everything he knows to the world. Can his former teammates, the super team Enola Gay, stop him? That sounds really good. Next up is a new volume of Sandman. DC have been releasing these complete Sandman books. We're up to book 6 now. So what this does, this contains stories collects game and Sojourn into the Dreaming, featuring comic book adaptation of The Sandman, The Dream Hunters, with art by P. Craig Russell, a Hugo Award-winning prequel series, The Sandman Overture, showcasing the illustrative storytelling J.H. Williams III, and The Sandman Universe #1, which of course was the one-shot reintroducing the Sandman universe to the DC universe. I talked about classics. We sold out of Watchmen last week, so any self-respecting comic store should have Watchmen on the shelves. It is one of the single greatest works of all time, not just comics, but just literary works of all time. So if you walk into a comic store, my recommendation is to look and see if they have Watchmen. If they don't, I'm not sure they know what they're doing, to be honest. Next up, we have Dead Eyes. This is written by Jerry Duggan with art by local artist John McCrae. This is the first volume of the book. This came with a little bit of controversy at first. It was originally called Dead Rabbit, and then a whole legal case ensued, and they had to change the name because of a bar in New York called the Dead Rabbit. Had copyrighted it, apparently. But really good book, really good revenge tale. As I say, got rebranded as Dead Eyes, but lost none of its power in doing so. Next up, we have Trez #1, Murder on Bullet Drive. So this is now a Netflix original anime series. I believe there's 4 or 5 volumes of this. Again, it's just something we're trying to get in a little bit different. It's not something I've read myself, but obviously manga's getting more and more popular. And this is sort of a mix of manga and comics in terms of the size and format. Next up, we have the latest volume of Time Before Time, Declan Shelby, Rory McConville's sojourn into time travel. Of course, always called Looper meets Saga. But this basically covers issues 19 to 23. So if you're enjoying Time Before Time, this is going to be the second last volume. Time Before Time is going to finish at issue 29. So there'll be one more volume. So there'll be a 5-volume epic in total. Speaking of epic and some of the best books of recent times, Human Target by Tom Keene and Greg Smallwood. Volume 2 came out a few weeks ago, so we've seen a bit of a flux going to that title, so we had to get the Volume 1s back in stock, so we've got Volume 1 and Volume 2 on the shelves, but this is just utterly tremendous. 12-issue miniseries, some of the most lush art you will ever see from Greg Smallwood, and just brilliant writing from Tom Keene as always. I'd mentioned Kanto, I'd mentioned David Booher, of course, so we're getting the volumes of Kanto back in advance. We'll stick some out in the shelves now. We'll keep some back for on the day you can pick up as well. This is Volume 2, which is The Hollow Men, and Volume 3, Lionhearted. I did order Volume 1s as well as Untold Tales of Kanto, but neither arrived, such as the joys of working with Diamond Comic Distributors. Mark it off your bingo cards, obligatory derogatory mention of Diamond Comic Distributors. Next up, 8 Billion Genies. This was actually out last week, but again, I was shorted on copies. I'm going to not say why. So I just got my top-up copies this week. So, amazing book. Absolutely amazing. 8 issues, one of the single best things of the last few years. George Soule, Ram Brown, up there with Do a Power Bomb, up there with Wonder Woman Dead Earth, up there with Blue and Green, Lila Star, whatever you want to say. That book is fantastic. And it's a beautiful hardcover as well. And the hardcovers from Image, I think, are always priced really well. So £36 is the whole thing. If you were buying 2 trade paperbacks, you'd pretty much pay that, but in this case, you get more of a lush hardcover. Next up is Blue Beetle Graduation Day. This was a 6-issue miniseries from Josh Chirrillo and Adrian Gutierrez. Obviously, some good timing with the Blue Beetle movie coming up soon as well. It also includes a sneak preview of the upcoming Blue Beetle #1, so going to be getting an ongoing title as well. Next up, we have Legion of X Volume 2, so Si Spurrier continuing on within the X universe. This contains Legion of X 6 to 10, but it also includes the one-shot X-Men Before the Fall, Sons of X #1 as well. New volume of Miles Morales kicked off recently with Cody Ziglar on writing and Federico Vicentini on art. This contains the first 5 issues of said run on Miles Morales, so bound to be a popular one. Next up, we have Star Wars Dr. Aphra. We're up as far as Volume 6 now. This is a character that's really caught fire in the Star Wars universe, and very much so in the comics. I mean, I certainly didn't expect it to be going on as far as like a 30-issue run, but it's just going on and on. It's up in the mid-30s now, but this volume contains issues 26 to 31. Next up is Captain America Sentinel of Liberty. I've been quite vocal about this run. It's got real echoes of the Ed Brubaker run on Captain America and Steve Epting. With this one, it's Colin Kelly and Jackson Lansing. The art the whole way through was by Carmen Carniero. And just some great stuff, and it really examines the friendship as well between Steve and Bucky. Really good stuff. That contains Sentinel of Liberty 7 to 11, as well as the one-shot Captain America and Winter Soldier Special. Say that 5 times fast. Speaking of getting classics back in, another thing I think any self-respecting store should have at any time is Walking Dead Compendium 1. So, quite simply, one of the best comics, not just indie comics, one of the best comics of all time for me. These compendiums, I've always said it, if you're going to commit to reading The Walking Dead, this is the best way to do it, because these volumes, they come around the £50 mark, but they have 48 issues within, and they're just really well presented, really well bound. Very highly recommended, Walking Dead. Little mini-series for you next up from Tim Seeley and Fran Galan. This is called The Roadie, which is a must-read for fans of horror and supernatural detectives. More than 35 years after his heyday, a former heavy metal roadie must return to the back roads of America to do a job he thought he had retired from, Exorcist. But this time he's not saving groupies and drunk bassists, he's trying to save his daughter. So that was a 4-issue miniseries, all collected into one book. Speaking of horror and great things, Swamp Thing Green Hell has finally hit hardcover. You may remember the first issue of Green Hell came out, and then there was a huge break between issue 2. It's Jeff Lemire writing, Doug Mahnke on art. So what they did was, after a year, they re-released issue 1 in a second printing, and then released issue 2, issue 3. So this is the whole thing, of course, in that gorgeous oversized black label format, and this is fantastic. This is proper dark Swamp Thing horror. Speaking of horror, but for a different reason, you have Punchline, the Gotham game, up next from Tini Howard, Blake Howard, Gleb Melnikoff. This contains the 6-issue miniseries, Punchline, the Gotham game. Of course, Punchline being a character coming out of James Tynion's run on Batman. And then we have two to finish off with, two omnibuses. The first one being, speaking of James Tynion, Batman Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Omnibus. So, from James Tynion IV and Freddie Williams II on art, this is an omnibus that contains Batman TMNT number 1, number 2, and number 3. Hundreds of pages of behind-the-scenes material and a brand new forward by Kevin Eastman himself. So, glorious addition there. Pardon me. And we finish off with the omnibus for Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider. So, this contains quite a substantial amount of stuff. You have the Spider-Gwen Ghost Spider 1 to 10, Spider-Geddon video comic number 1, Ghost Spider Annual, then Ghost Spider 1 to 10, Keenan Black issues, Gwenon vs. Carnage, Web Warriors 1 to 11, and material from Amazing Spider-Man number 1 as well. So for the Spider-Gwen fan in your life, pretty definitive stuff right there. So that is everything that is new in this week going on the shelves. As I say, because I'm recording this on a Tuesday morning, anything that are top-ups, things like that, or older stuff, I can put straight in the shelves because I'm not holding them back to record for YouTube. So as I say, this will be the format going forward. New in this week, and then later on in the day, I will post the single issues that are going out this week as well. So hope you enjoy the new format. Hopefully these are shorter, sharper bursts for you as well, instead of having to watch a 15-20 minute video. And I hope they prove useful as always for you. So hope you're staying safe out there. I'll look forward to seeing you in the store soon. Take it easy.